Welcome back to the R programming tutorial, and today we will discuss about something called as list in R programming. Now, what is a list? A list is similar to a to-do list. That's the easiest way to remember. A list is similar to a to-do list. What do you have in a to-do list? For example, in Google Keep, or whether it is Evernote, or whether it is Wunderlist, or any other kind of mobile app that you may have installed, you have a combination of text, then image, then video, etc. Now these are different types of file formats, right? So a list is similar to this. The different items on a list in R programming, they differ in length, characteristic, type of activity that has to be done. It allows you to gather a variety of objects under one name in an ordered way. So these objects can be matrices, vectors, data frames, or even other lists also. So let me just repeat that. A list in R allows you to collect objects under one name. And these objects can be matrices, or vectors, or data frames, or lists, etc. We will discuss data frames in a later chapter. Now, it is not required that these objects are related to each other. They can be totally unrelated, just like your to-do list. Maybe you can even say that a list is kind of a super data format. Okay. Now, what is a vector? If you remember from the last class, a vector is a one-dimensional array. Okay. And what is a matrix? It's a two-dimensional array. So, okay, of the same type. Both vector and matrix consist of objects which are the same type. Now, to construct a list, you use the function called list in these brackets. For example, you would write my list, okay, and you assign it to a list of component 1, component 2, etc. So this is how you write using the function called list. Okay. Now, these are called components inside the list function. You may also call them as arguments. Okay. So these arguments are the list components, and these components again can be a collection of matrices, vectors, and so on. So let us try a list here in the actual R console. And so I would say, let's say a song is assigned to a list with let's say Ed Cohen. Okay, and about 190 seconds, I can say, and 5 is the track number. Okay, so this is the title of the song, Ed Cohen's song. Okay, and 190 is the duration, and track number 5 is the song name. Now if you press enter and check what this has got. Okay, so is song a list? Is the song here a list or not? If it is not a list, if it is not using a list function, it will give a false here. Okay, now we assign the names, in fact the columns of this particular song. So its first is the title, the second is the duration, and the third one is the track. Okay, now just type in song and you will get the information here. The title is Ed Cohen song, the duration is 190, and it is track number 5. Okay, so you can see how it is written: dollar title, dollar duration, and dollar track. Now you can also assign it in this format. Let's say song, directly you can say list of the title equals to Ed's new song. Okay, now duration is 190 and the track is, let's say, 6. Okay, now again if you type in song here, you'll get the new information. So within the list function itself, you can actually assign the column names and then give the values under those columns. So here the column names are title, duration, and track. Okay, you can also look at the structure of this particular song and say str song. It'll give you a list of 3 items. Okay, and you have information there as title, which is a character, duration is numeric, and track is also numeric. Okay, now let's create a vector with numerics from 1 up to 10. So the way I would write it is my vector is 1 to 10. Okay, I've just created a vector with numerics from 1 up to 10. Now let me create a matrix with numerics from 1 up to 9. So I would say my matrix is the matrix function from 1 to 9, and the number of columns is 3. Okay, I would like to create the first 10 elements of a built-in data frame called empty cars. Okay, there is a built-in data frame called empty cars, which has got information about cars and engines and so on. So I would like to display the first 10 elements only. So for that I would use my data frame with the built-in empty cars with these square brackets 1 to 10 elements. Okay, now what I'm trying to do is to construct a list with these 3 different kinds of elements. Okay, you can call them list elements also. So now what I'm doing is my list should have a combination of these different types. So my vector, my matrix, and my data frame. Okay, so this is what I want to have as the list function. Now just look at this one, my underscore list. Okay, so you can see here the first element is the vector from 1 to 10. The second element is the matrix from 1 to 9 with number of columns as 3. The third element here is the data frame, which has got the empty cars information about Mazda and a few others with the cylinder and a few other gear related information also. So you can create a list with different data types also. Now coming back to the go-to or the to-do list that we have discussed earlier, when you write this to-do list, do you want to remember what is inside the to-do list always? No, because it may contain a lot of images and videos from a whole number of months or years together. So how do you remember these informations that are there inside the list? The way that you do it is as follows. So just like on your to-do list, you want to avoid remembering what the components are, and therefore you should give the names. So my underscore list should have the list as, so name 1 equals to your component 1, okay, and name 2 equals to your component 2, and so on. So this is how you give the names to these components inside the list. So this creates a list with the components name 1 and name 2 and so on. If you want to name your lists after you have created them, you can use the names function, okay, to create names for components after list is created. Okay, then this is the same as what you do with the vectors also, and the following commands can be used. So you can say my list is a list of component 1, component 2, okay, and so on. So you would say your names of my underscore list would be as follows, okay, so which would be as C, and then name 1, name 2, etc. So these names would be assigned to those particular components. We can do an interesting exercise using something called a split. Okay, I want to get the first names from a vector, okay, which has got Bob underscore Smith, Mary underscore Jane, okay, Ed underscore Cohen, and Mike underscore Yang, let's say, and then Charlie underscore let's say Fox. I want to just get the first name. So let's create a vector first. So I'll clear up the space. You can press Ctrl L to clear up the space there. I would like to assign T to these guys here. Okay, so error Bob Smith. Of course, you'd have an error. So let me type it up by saying Bob underscore Smith because it's a character. That's why the error. Okay, Mary underscore Jane, Ed underscore Cohen, Mike Charlie underscore Fox. Okay, so now I've created this one. Let me create a function. You can use functions like this. A function of, we're trying to split with str, a split, and then s comma, and the delimiter that you want to use to differentiate is underscore, and then you want to take the first element, okay, and in that first component or in the first element you again take the first one, which is separated by the delimiter underscore. Okay, now I want to apply this function to t dot f. Okay, I hope you are closely watching me here. Now what I do here is enter, and I have got, okay, it's a comma, sorry. Okay, so instead of a dot it's a comma. So Bob underscore Smith and so on, so you get the first names of all these people. Okay, so this is using a split function. Now let's do another exercise. How do you select elements from a list? Earlier you have seen I have used some square brackets, right? So for the first element and also the first part of the element with the delimiter of underscore. But basically, how do you select the elements from a list? Now let's say we have a cast of people in Game of Thrones, a popular drama serial that you would be watching. It's a very famous one, Game of Thrones. So I'll pick a few characters from there. So I'll just say Emilia Clarke, okay, and Kit. Not sure whether these are your favorite characters, but I'm just taking up for the exercise, so forgive me here. So Emilia Clarke and Kit Harington. Okay, this is the cast. Now I want to create a list for this Game of Thrones and say the list here is the Game of Thrones and the cast. Okay, so these are the two elements inside this particular list. Now if I press enter and then type in got, you would have the first element, the simple one, Game of Thrones, and you also have the cast, which is coming from this vector here with these characters, Emilia Clarke and so on, Kit Harington. Now what I want to do is I want to assign the English actor status to Kit Harington. Okay, so what I want to do is basically select the second name from the cast and the second component of that name. So in the list function I'll be selecting the second name or the list, which is the cast here, and the second component of that particular component, which is the Kit Harington part of the cast here. Okay, so how do you assign that? So I'd say English underscore actor. I assign it to the Game of Thrones. Inside that, I would assign to the second component, which is the cast. Now inside the cast, I want to assign it to Kit Harington. So square brackets and 2. So this is the second part of this list, which is cast, and this is the second part of the cast, which is Kit Harington. Okay. Now if I say English underscore actor, absolutely right, you get Kit Harington. Sorry. Now you want to assign the best actress award to Emilia Clarke. How do you do that? Think of it. So you create a best actress, okay, from the Game of Thrones list to the second part of this list, which is this one. This is how you represent from the list, and the first part. So what do you have here? Voila, 1. Exactly. So I would say best actress. Obviously you get Emilia Clarke as the name there. So this is how you remember and you assign a particular information to the list components. Alright, now let's look back again here and think of a new one. How do you add more information to a list? Okay, now you are very happy with your list. You share it with all your cast members about these awards and the status and so on. However, one of the senior members, let's say McDowell, he noted that you forgot to add the release year. Okay, you there forgot to add the release year of the Game of Thrones. Okay, so well, you want to be part of the next year's cast and you don't want to mess it up, so you did decide to add this information. Okay, so how do you add? In order to add conveniently all the kinds of elements to a list, you use something called a concatenate function. Okay, and this is the concatenate function. So you use C and a list and some variable inside the list the list there. So this will simply extend the original list, this list, with the component of some variable that you have added. So this component gets appended to the end of the list. So some underscore variable gets appended to the end of this list. Okay, now if you want to give the new list item a name, you can also do that. So you can say your list and some new name or a release name or something. We can say some underscore variable, so directly giving a name to that particular thing there. I hope you're able to follow me. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. Now let's say you forgot to add the release here and with a specific number 2015 to the GOT list, the Game of Thrones list. So how do you add it? Let's go back. I'll just minimize it. How do you add it here? Let's say you want to add got underscore new name, and you need to add your Game of Thrones, your year equals to 2015, and that's about it. So you say got underscore new name. Okay, so you have this information there. The year, $year, this 2015. Okay, now you have added the year. You want to add a director's name to the list at the end. Okay, now add the director's name, who's the director of Game of Thrones, Tim Van Patten. Okay, you want to add his name, a special name for that particular list. Okay, so how do you do that? At the same time, you need to give the name of director also. Okay, so how do you do that? You say got underscore new char, just a new character here. I'll say to this list, which is got the earlier one which we created, add director as Tim Van Patten. Okay, now you say got and new char, you will get this information there. Okay, Game of Thrones, Emilia Clarke, Kit and the data's name, which is Tim Van Patten. Okay, so all the information is right there. There is a concept called coercion, which I would like to bring it up here. I hope you have followed so far with me. So what is coercion? Coercion is the basic meaning is force. Okay, you force something, someone, etc. So when you call a function with an argument of the wrong type, our programming will try to coerce the values to a different type so that the function works. Let me repeat that. When you call a function with an argument of wrong type, okay, then R tries to coerce, or I would say force, values to a different type so that function works. Okay, so there are two types of coercion that occur automatically in R. Now, coercion with formal objects and with built-in types. Okay, if no match exists, then R will search for a coercion method that converts the object to a type for which a suitable method does exist. Okay, now the method for creating coercion functions is called as creating coercion methods. And additionally, R will automatically convert between built-in object types when it is appropriate. Okay, automatically converts between built-in object types when appropriate. Okay, it will also convert from specific to general types. So for example, you define a vector as in this format: x is a vector of 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so if you, let me put this mark here, so this is the command line there. So if you type in x, you will get 1, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, now if you say in the next line type of, what is the type of x? Okay, you'll probably get a double here. Okay, when you say class of x, you will get a numeric there. Okay, now let's change the second element. Change the second element of the vector. Remember, vector needs to have everything of the same type, to the word you know, just come up with a word like pen, for example. Okay, so R will change the object class to character and change all the elements in the vector to a character. So this is important to remember. Now if you assign, how do you assign? You just say x of 2 is now going to be remembered as pen. Okay, so if you say x here, you will get like this. Okay, earlier there were no double quotes, so here you will have double quotes because it is converted to character. Okay, so it will say character here. And if you have, say, class, if you ask for a class from this, it will also say a character. So this is called coercion, because a vector and a matrix cannot have objects or elements of different types. Okay, so a few pointers to remember: logical values are converted to numbers. Okay, so true is converted to 1 and false to 2. The values are converted, sorry, values are converted to the simplest type required to represent all this information. The ordering format or the ordering sequence is, or the priority of this would be integer, and then greater than this is numeric, and greater than this is complex, and then it is character, and then ls. This is a sequence that it follows. Okay, so hope you have understood the list. We have seen what is list. It's similar to to-do lists. Like all these, you have different data types that you can maintain inside the list. You have seen how to give names for these components before and after you create the list. How do you split using the split functionality? How do you assign the elements, how do you add information to a list, and what is coercion. Okay, so if you have any doubts, please feel free to write in the comment section. If you like my video, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much, and we will connect in the next tutorial. Till then, have a good day or a good night wherever you are. Bye bye.